Mm. Hello, everyone. This is my first presentation for a series on the theory of everything. Now, what makes this series far different from any other series is that I have actually solved the theory of everything. Let me repeat that. We have an actual solution for the theory of everything. Not speculation, not mathematics, not guessing, not the history of. We have in our possession an actual solution to the theory of everything. This solution is well worked out. It has been thoroughly tested. Illustrations have been made. Numerous publications are out there for you to read that I've made. It's all there and ready to go. It's complete, it's real, it's solved. That's what makes this series of video presentations far different from any other video on the theory of everything. All other videos are on speculation, possibilities, maybe, could be, possible, where they're going. But this series says we have solved it. And these are the solutions. All right, so that's far different. We have solved it. Here are the solutions. And that's what I'm going to give to you in this series. What is the theory of everything? Let's look at this. The solution to the theory of everything is here. It's here right now. There are still famous scientists, surprisingly famous scientists, that are still speculating and guessing and have no clue, but the solution is here. And let me tell you that I have had this solution in my possession since 2014. You got that right. 2014 was when I had the complete theory of everything, unified field solution, quantum gravity, everything in 2014. Everything I did in the subsequent years was first thoroughly testing all the pieces of the solution, and then making separate publications to cover each topic. Culminating, of course, in the book, The Theory of Everything, that I published just recently. So let's look here. The theory of everything is considered the ultimate quest in the science of physics. Many scientists have attempted this, but could not create the solution. We now have this solution. That's huge. That's significant. That's huge. The ultimate quest in the science of physics has been solved, and here it is. What is a theory of everything? In general terms, a theory of everything is a simple scientific solution which can explain all observations of science using only a few simple concepts. So what this means is that every scientific observation can be explained. Every type of energy, motion, dynamic process can be explained using a basic set of principles. And these set of principles are very few in number. Okay? And yet it will comply to all areas of physics, as well as all scales, from the atom to the galaxies. It'll do anything. That's what a true theory of everything does. The theory of everything must explain all of science with just a very few concepts. For a theory of everything to be considered accurate, it must be able to explain the existence of all physical entities and the dynamic relations between them. Yet at the same time, the fundamentals must be very simple and few in number. These few principles can then be used to explain all entities, motions, and processes in physical science. This is indeed what we have with a theory. This is a historic moment. Make no mistake about it. This is a historic moment. It is a first for mankind. Einstein could not solve the theory of everything. Einstein could not solve the unified field theory. Yet I have done both. Hawking wrote that it may not be possible to solve the theory of everything. And yet here we have it. So think about that. Einstein spent his entire life trying to come up with a unified field solution, but couldn't. But I have unified all the energies. I have a unified field solution. Einstein couldn't do it, I did. That's huge. Hawking thought that the theory of everything might not be possible. It might be too huge. But today we have the solution. It's huge. It's the first for mankind. It's huge. This is a big deal. So let's look at the solution, what it can do. Remember that the true theory of everything needs to be able to explain a lot of the main concepts in science. Of course, it's got to explain everything, but let's just look at the main concepts it needs to explain. The solution to the theory of everything can now explain the following. 1, the structure and relationships of all energies. That means the physical structure of energies and the relationships among all the types of energies. Number 2, the formation and structure of particles. Using this solution, we now know how particles are formed. We know the specific detailed structure of particles. Number 3, the cause of motion. Scientists did not know the cause of motions either. They could explain them with math using Newton's equations and so forth. But the actual cause, even Feynman says we didn't know the cause of motions. Now we do. And knowing the cause of motions, we can explain all aspects of motions. Number 4, gravity. We can now explain all aspects of gravity. It's huge. That was a big one. Newton could do it mathematically, but he didn't know what it was physically. Einstein could do it with geometry and at large scales, but it still didn't explain it. We can now explain all aspects of gravity, what it looks like, how it operates, all gravitational observations, everything. 5, the details of molecular bonding. When we're talking about building up matter, we begin with the atoms and then the molecular bonds. Using the solution to the theory of everything, we can show you exactly how molecular bonds operate, which, by the way, also explains several other observations related to molecules. This leads to the creation of all structures, because once you understand the structure of particles, and the molecular bonding, as well as gravity, we can build larger and larger structures until we get to the rocks, planets, solar system, galaxies. The dynamics of any process of physical science, that's the last one. We can explain anything. Okay, Newton was genius to come up with some of the mathematics and some of the basic laws, the work, but now physically we can understand it much better. So we can understand everything from the atomic level to the galaxy level. Anything you can imagine in the physical sciences, we can now explain those processes. Huge, huge, huge. The solution can also explain, for the first time, these other following puzzles. Now understand this set of puzzles, each one was considered a huge challenge to the physics community. The greatest minds were working on it for decades and not coming up with solutions. Quantum, number one, quantum gravity. Many people have been trying to solve it. Today, some of the greatest scientists are still trying to look at it. They have it all wrong. We can explain quantum gravity perfectly and completely. Number two, electron orbits. Niels Bohr knew that electron orbits traveled in certain distances, but didn't know why. We can explain why. Furthermore, a lot of people think that electron orbits are random, but they're not. We can actually know the specific trajectory of every electron orbit for every atom and every molecule. We can explain that now. That's a first. Particle wave duality, that's number three. That's a huge one. For 100 years, more than 100 years, scientists were puzzled by how things can be a particle and a wave, especially light. Einstein was puzzled by it. Niels Bohr was puzzled by it. Greatest scientists were puzzled by it, couldn't explain it. We have the solution. The solution is so simple. The solution is so simple once you see it. But we have the solution of particle wave duality. Huge puzzle, we've solved it. Newtonian gravity and relativity. Again, because we understand all aspects of gravity, we can now explain the physical reality behind Newtonian's equations. We can also explain the physical reality behind Einstein's relativity. It all makes perfect sense now. The fifth one on this list is the unified energy solution, also known as the unified field system. People have been trying for decades to unify all the energies, all the known energies in the universe in some fashion. Nobody's been able to do it. But this has now been done. That's a huge deal. So quantum gravity, particle wave duality, unified energy are all explained using this solution. So I said this theory of everything, this solution can do it all. It truly is the solution. Now let's get up to another point which is very important to understand. The solution of the theory of everything is physical reality. This is huge. This is important because honestly, very few scientists talk about physical reality. Physicists, they seem to ignore physical reality altogether. They don't like it. They like to live in mathematics. But mathematics is not reality. Mathematics is not real. There's a reality that you can see and touch and feel and everything else. That's what it is. Okay? So understand that. One of the things that makes this theory not only correct, first of all, it's the correct solution, but one of the reasons we know it's correct is because it's physically real. Okay? So let's go through the points. It's a physical reality. It's not mathematics. Okay? These are physical structures. They're not abstractions. You're not going to find any virtual particles or things like that here. These are physical structures. The drawings can be compared to engineering. We can draw the details of every particle, every energy string, every orbit with such precision, such level of three-dimensionality. We can show that these are very real, very physical entities. These are not imaginary things. These are real. We also use normal 3 dimensions. A favorite aspect of the quantum physicist is to keep going into dimensions. I forget how many people have used. Some say 9, some say 12, some say 21. They just keep going out there and more dimensions. And you're like, no. We just need our 3 physical dimensions plus time, and everything works out just fine. So again, we can explain all observations using just our normal 3D life. And again, I'm going to talk about that these principles work at all scales. These works for atoms, for planets, for basketball, for galaxies, for tires, for cars speeding, and for cars stopping. I mean, anything you can imagine, anything, the same principles will work. So it's a very physical, very real reality. One moment, please, while I pause. Another bonus of this solution is that it simplifies quantum mechanics. Let's go through the list. Number 1 is deterministic rather than probabilities. One of the things about quantum science is people say, quantum science is so weird. It's not like our everyday reality. Well, now it is. There's no probabilities to it all. We know exactly what things are going to do and how they're going to do it. Number 2, the Newtonian mechanics can explain processes. Again, this is big because I would say almost every quantum scientist I've ever heard has said the Newtonian mechanics doesn't work on the quantum scale, on the atom scale, but it does. If you understand the actual physical realities that I present to you, Newton mechanics will explain everything. It'll explain atomic orbits. It'll explain the processes of photons. It'll explain diffraction. It'll explain everything. It works. Here's another one, number 3. On the particles, there's only now 3, count them, 3 fundamental particles. Okay, we're replacing the standard model completely. The standard model of particles with all its bosons and crazy stuff. No, we don't need that. You don't need all those bosons. You don't need those fermions. And we don't need to discuss quarks. Those things don't exist. We also don't need to stockpile 101 different quarks. No. There's only three fundamental particles, and everything else is just a variation of that. This will simplify our atomic science incredibly. And again, this also shows that the solution must be true, because if we can explain all those other so-called quarks and bosons by just three, again, simple. When we have a solution that's simple, it's more likely to be right. There it is. The next simplification for quantum mechanics is the energies. We only have 4 primary energies now, just 4. When you go into a lot of physics courses and physics texts, you will see dozens of different types of energies. I mean, I don't know if I bothered to go through all the text and to count them. I know there's 20, 30, 50 different types of energies. I don't know. But there's really only 4. 4. From those 4, you can get everything else. And the last point I also want to remind you is, just because we say quantum mechanics, we also include everything else. The simplification we use for that will apply to the quantum mechanics will also help simplify our understanding for all objects and all processes, from the atoms to the cars to the planets to everything. Okay, it truly is a solution. Okay, so that I want to give the overview of the value, the importance, the significance of what this theory of everything actually can do. Now, the series of videos is going to explain all these concepts in detail, right? There's going to be a bunch of short videos, each explaining different topics. So keep that in mind as I proceed with the rest of this. The rest of this particular video is just going to be a short overview of the grand theory. Okay, so let's keep it brief, put it together, see what we got. Okay. Remember the 2 main aspects of a true theory of everything. First, that it can explain all things in science. And second, there's only a few concepts. Okay? So there's only about 10 concepts total, which is rather small considering the entirety of the universe and the entire physical science. Having only 10 concepts to work with is really a grand simplification. So we'll explain these in future videos. Just here's the overview. 1, all known energies are variations of just one energy. There's really not multiple energies, there's really only one. And the way that one is modified can create the variations. Number 2, energy as a physical entity exists in what I refer to as energy fish. These are complex geometrical shapes of energy which pulsate and move along, but in essence, they swim along like fish in the ocean. And that becomes significant. We will explain why. Number 3, groupings of energy fish become energy strings. Most people think that energy strings is just one energy. It's not. Energy strings is actually a collection of smaller units of these origami-shaped energy fish. We will see those in illustrations and you'll understand why. 4, when we concentrate the energy, it becomes mass. When we take those energy strings or those energy fish and force them to be together in such a way, this will become a creation known as mass. We will show the conversions in another video. Second page. Again, there's only a few principles for all of this solution. Particles. Particles are created by energy strings as they weave together. You see, energy strings create particles as they weave. It's not a single string that vibrates, nor is it a point in space. It's more like a ball of yarn. Next point. Flowing energy becomes solid matter. So how can energy be something like a table that we feel is a solid object? Well, it's because the way the energy flows makes it impervious to our touch. And that makes it solid matter. Energy strings are the bonding mechanisms. Simple enough to understand. We'll make the pictures of it in another video. So all the bonding, the creation of larger objects, are energy strings. Motions. Motions are also created by the energy strings, but in a different way than you might have suspected. In brief, the energy strings go inside the particles. And what those energy strings do inside the particle will cause the particle to move, and that creates motion. Next point. The size of the energy string will determine the scale. Okay? We talked about things working at the smallest scale from the nucleus and atom and the photons, all the way up to the basketball and the cars and planets and everything else. So it's really the size of the energy strings that determines the scale. The larger energy strings will be able to larger bonding of objects together. We will show that, but it's basically the same mechanism. It's the same mechanism that apply everywhere. It's just the size. The size of these energy strings determines the scale of the same operation. Last concept, the dynamics is a competition of energies. Well, we kind of already knew this, right? Newton's laws of physics with the different trajectories of energies, forward energy being pulled down and so forth. Yeah. Well, we all know this, right? Something has to orbit because you have a forward motion, and then so it's moved down to gravity, different types of things like that. So it's a competition of energies, and we'll see that more specifically in the videos. All right, those are the principles. That's it. Those approximately, I don't know what I call it, 8 to 10 principles are it. That's all you need. That's the solution. That's the solution. So there it is. These few principles can explain all of physical science. And emphasizing the points, these few principles can explain all entities. Photons, electrons, basketballs, cars, mountains, planets, galaxies, anything. These few principles can explain all energies. Like I said, electrical, magnetic, nuclear, gravitational, and any variation thereof. These few principles explain all motions, right? Like the internal motion of the particles, the way the orbits happen, and complex motions of spins and waves and everything else can be explained using these principles. So again, of all the many explanations in physical science for whatever textbook or course you're taking, we can now reduce those many explanations to just a few concepts, right? So whether it's the formation of stars or the motion of a car or anything else, we can now explain those to just a few concepts. Therefore, we have indeed a true theory of everything. This is huge. This is significant. This is big. Okay, this is big. This is huge. We have the solution. It's going to be a game changer in science. It's going to be big. Let's now take this a step further. Not only are there just 10 principles for the solution, we can simplify everything down to one concept. We can reduce all the entities in the universe to just one entity, which means we can create all of physical science from one entity. We have all energies, all motions, all objects, all dynamics created from just one entity. Yes, just one. You cannot get any more simple than one. One is as simple as you can go. So this is the ultimate in simplicity. This becomes the truest version of a theory of everything, because we have been able to take all of our physical surroundings, all physical processes, everything that we can see and touch and measure in our universe, down to one. Simplicity at its finest. Simplicity at its finest. As I said, this solution to the theory of everything has been published in a book called The Theory of Everything, Perfectly Solved, with the author, Mark Fennell, that's me. In it, you can see the explanation for everything I talk about. And we build it from the one entity I talk about and the 10 principles. We build up every energy, particle, object, motion, everything. It's all there. It's all there. Okay? It's been published. It's available. It's there. Okay, the last few slides are just going to be talking about the video series itself, give you an overview. This video series will provide short and clear explanations for all topics which can now be solved according to the new theory of everything. That's it. We're going to make many videos, all of which are short, which cover the basic concepts, so you can learn about the solution. Okay? Again, many videos are necessary because everything, to put that in quotes, encompasses a lot of topics. So we're going to need a lot of short videos to see how this works. in many different cases. Okay. In this series, there will be several short videos, each of which will be dedicated to one of the topics presented in the publication, right? So you can actually go side by side with this. In the videos, I'll provide the high-level overview of everything, of the topic. The video will provide a short, clear, high-level overview with the most important illustrations for that topic. And then with the book, you can go and read that chapter further and go back and forth between the two. Okay. All right. These videos will be high-level overviews with the basic concepts of each topic. These videos are intended to provide the basic concepts with illustrations. Right? I just said that. However, I want to remind you that these are just high-level overviews. I'm not going to be going into the great details in any video. The details will be spread throughout the videos, but even then, I'm not going to go into the main details. There are many more details that are in the book than will be in the presentations. So please, please, please read the book for the complete details and illustrations on each topic. Okay, so there you go. That covers the basics of the video series, the basics of why the theory of everything is important, what the solution can provide, all that, all right? So it's sort of the big overview for where we're going and why this is important. Now, final slide. If you want to purchase the detailed solutions, and I recommend you do this, I highly recommend you do this. The book is available. I've got the Amazon link directly on the page there. So type that in, get your copy of the book, and start reading it. I've already had many readers of the book, and they tell me how much they've learned. They tell me how easy it is to read. Nobody gets stumbled over it. And while these are smart people, they're not necessarily scientists. It's not just quantum physicists. Yes, these people do have a brain and are curious science people, but they're not. You don't have to be some sort of expert. Pretty much anybody can read these, and you should. So this is the game changer. This is it. This is the solution right here, right there, okay? I highly recommend you buy the book, and you can read it accompanied with these little videos. Okay, so the theory of everything, the solution is here. That's a big deal. It's a huge deal. I had the solution in 2014, but only published the final version of the solution just a few months ago. So the solution I had in 2014, it was already done, but I need to make other books and stuff first. This is now the book that will be a game changer, that will be referenced, that will be read, that will change the way we look at science, kind of change the way we teach science, change the way we understand science. It's got to change everything. It's got to be a huge pivot point in the history of our understanding of science. All right, very good. I'm very excited to bring you these videos. Just I'm excited to bring you the book, and I can't wait to see you for the next one. Bye.